I have a little bit of like a bigger picture question for you, and I have a long-winded way of eventually getting there. But we heard the guys talking in the media after the game against Utah, where like for lack of a better phrase, they called each other out when they were down 2-0, and they kind of said like we need to shape up. And Liam and I were talking earlier in the show about last year. It was the game against Washington is the one they credit as like the moment where they kind of stood up in the room and said we need to be better. And I think back to the first few playoff runs they went on with McDavid, the year they went to the Western Conference Final, there were, adding guys like Duncan Keith and Mike Smith and being like, we need veterans, we need to insulate these guys. But now it feels like this group is kind of past the need for that big veteran presence to do it for them. Like it feels like over the last 3 years, we've watched Connor and Leon kind of grow to a point where they're not afraid to be those guys anymore. Have you kind of watched that development too? Like, is what I'm saying making sense?
100%. I agree with you. I really do. I think that you can always add, but at the same time, I think this core, and I'll go even further to the Zach Hymans of the world, the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins of the world, Matthias Ekholm, Darnell Nurse, Stuart Skinner's now got. You're starting to build a core here that not only has had the experience necessarily actually in the playoffs, but they're learning how to be even better players and better teammates. And I think that goes a long way. I think if you look at any good team, it takes those top players sometimes a real hard loss to figure that out. That was a crushing loss in the Stanley Cup final for this group. Crushing loss. It is every single year when the team that loses in the final loses that final, because it's an amazing run to get there. And not a lot of guys get to experience the Stanley Cup final. So number one, we look at it as just a whatever. We kind of brush it away because they didn't win. But they were one win away from winning the Stanley Cup. They were 2 goals away from winning it. So that's a tough pill to swallow for entire summer when you know that that was right there at your fingertips. But I think what it also does, and I think you lick your wounds, and I think you come back the next year and you start to methodically work yourself into the season. I just think it makes you have that upper echelon game. You can dig in and get to it. You know how to push the right buttons. And it took them a little time to get there. There's no question. Even the top guys, it took them some time to get there. I really think the injury to McDavid, though, I think Draisaitl, he went into that game in Nashville, and I mean, he was outstanding in that game. He just went to a new level. And I think the responsibility, call it unfairly, whatever you want to call it, but he becomes, no question, the number one player on the team. And I could just tell. I bumped into him the night before the game, and he was walking back with Zach Hyman, and they had gone out for dinner. And I just looked at him. I told the guys when I bumped into him, we were going to go watch a little bit of the football game and have a discussion. I said, he's cruising back to the hotel. He's getting dialed for tomorrow's game. Like, he's not messing around. Like, he understands that there's a lot on the plate now. There's a lot on his shoulders, and he took his game to a new level. And I think for Connor, when he saw that and he was watching that from home, hates to be at home, doesn't miss a lot of games. But when he came back, game he didn't get a point, but after that it was look out. He has been on fire. He has not taken the foot off the gas pedal. And when those two guys are rolling, don't apologize for the fact you've got the 2 best players offensively in the league for the last 10 years. That has been the MO of your team, and that's what it has to be. And they have been, and then everybody else falls into suit. Yeah.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.